listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to mix things up a little bit. I think I said it would be India next on our World Cup previews and predictions, but we're going to do England because India are the favourites, and therefore they get to go last, which is good for them. England, they're a good team, aren't they, Ross? Talk to me.
Yeah, they are a pretty good team. They are coached by Matthew Mott, the serial winner with the Australian women, and now the serial winner under the England white ball setup, captained by Jos Buttler, our best ever white ball batter. And I'm going to go to the road to World Cup first before I come to the kit. England finished second behind New Zealand in the ODI Super League with a 15-8 record. The England team's flight to India actually seems more enjoyable for them. Bairstow shared a picture of him, Woakes and Buttler in economy class, surrounded by people taking pictures of them with a thing of saying 38 hours and counting as their journey to get to where they're staying. Max, what surprised me about this is that I wouldn't have put Bairstow sitting next to Woakes and sitting next to Buttler as the three in a seat.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, do you reckon they've got a system? Do you reckon they've got a system in terms of who sits next to each other? Because it's clearly not alphabetical.
Yeah, or it was alphabetical, and Woakes just came in and wanted to swap because he just loves Bairstow. I don't know.
It'd be difficult. Would Johnny Bairstow be someone you'd want to sit next to on a flight?
Absolutely not. I think he'd be really fidgety and get up all the time and be really annoying and want to talk to you. I just want to sit there and watch a film or read a book or something. And he'd just be he'd be nattering, I reckon.
Yeah, he's a big chatter.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people who have met Bairstow in person, and I think it would be an interesting flight. I think it would be. I can't really
38 hours worth
for either of them, but I think you would come out of it with anecdotes. It's my reflection on the stories that I've heard. I
think Woke seems to me the kind of guy that if you accidentally fell asleep on his shoulder, he'd be like, okay, that's fine, mate. You crack on.
He'd probably put a blanket over you, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
See, look, Woke's very nice in many ways. If these were just normal people from the street, absolutely you want Woke's over Bairstow. Absolutely, that's a no-brainer. But they're England cricketers, and trust me, you want to be next to Bairstow. You don't want Mr. Nice Guy from the team, do you? You want the one where things could happen here.
There's a bit of volatility there. There's going to be a story at the end of this flight.
For chaos reasons. If you're going to
rank them in order, I think Bairstow's the number one you want to sit next to, and I think right down the bottom you've got Woakes, Joe Root, Moeen Ali. They'll give you the time of day, and then they're going to watch 17 episodes of The American Office or something like that. That's not happening with Bairstow.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on, Ross.
Anyway, so when it comes to their kit, it's a modern day blue patchwork with a dash of red, is how I describe it. They have continued with their kit supplier Castor. I don't think it looks like it's going to be one of the wet look ones that Aston Villa are complaining about. But, I
That's
think
a shame.
Interesting. Yeah, that is a shame. I mean, who'd be winning that wet t-shirt competition? They're likely 11. We've had a lot of chat around kind of Jason Roy being left out the side, Harry Brook coming in as the player. Jason Roy has announced that he will go as he will be on call. He'll be the non-travelling reserve just in case somebody ends up injured. We've got Bairstow and Milan opening up, Joe Root at 3, Ben Stokes at 4, Jos Buttler at 5, Liam Livingstone at 6, and then Moeen Ali at 7, potentially moving around with Sam Curran between those kind of three in that area. You're going to have Mark Wood and kind of Chris Woakes batting at 8 or David Willey with probably then Woakes at 9, Rashid at 10, Topley at 11, and then you've got Gus Atkinson who's providing a bit of support in that lineup as well. So this England side is stacked, lads. It is an absolute beast of a unit. I think the strengths of this lineup is experience. I think only Topley and Atkinson don't have a World Cup winners medal between them because we are double world champions. We don't mention enough, I don't think. To all of our India listeners and to Australian listeners, Like, suck it. Like, ultimately, we are
Okay.
we are double world champs. How does that feel? And if I'm being honest, fellas, I think we've got a good thing going here. Like, our style of play is aggressive, and we have the ability to score really, really quickly. But they've got an awful lot of bottle in this team as well. We've got a lot of clutch players and who know how to play the situation. Ben Stokes coming back into this lineup is absolutely huge for England. There was a monumental gap in the ODI side when he retired, alongside kind of Owen Morgan, and him coming back surrounded by one side of him, England's greatest ever batter in Joe Root, and on the other side, England's greatest white ball batter in Jos Buttler. And then before they even get to them, you've got Bairstow and Milan. They've been kind of ranked very, very highly in the ODI rankings for a long time. And you've then got the firepower of Livingston, Moeen Ali, Sam Curran, Wood kind of coming after them. Like the batting for England is scary. I'll stop there before going on to the bowling. Guys, we're in a pretty good position here, aren't we, from an England perspective?
I think it looks better on paper than it actually functions. Just from I guess watching recent ODIs, but I think it's Ben Stokes coming back is massive. That is a huge boon for England in how basically he can play so many different roles in a game. He can knock things around. He can rebuild. He can go big at the end. He's got such a unique set of skills from that point of view that he can fulfill all those roles with just one guy. That's an amazing thing to have, the balance in a batting lineup. But I do think the England's sort of lower order, I guess, does rely on a fairly specific set of circumstances to work well and work properly. I think Livingston, he's been a bit frustrating in one-day cricket. He's obviously boom or bust in T20s, and that's what you want. And he can absolutely go for the moon when it comes to ODIs. Perhaps that risk reward sort of ratio is shifted slightly, and it can be a bit more of an issue. But I think, like, you look at it and you're like, that looks incredible, and then you put it on the pitch and sometimes it doesn't actually work quite as well as you think it might. That's where I'm coming from. Just doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the last few years they haven't been that good. I mean, like, it's pretty obvious that in the run up to the 2019 World Cup, they prioritised ODI cricket and they had a machine and a way of playing that worked really well. And that just is fundamentally not the case in the run up to this World Cup. They've chopped and changed the team loads. The guy who's played the most games for them, they actually have dropped on the eve of the tournament. The bowling still has quite a few question marks. The batting is really fragile. Joe Root hasn't hit 100 since 2019 in ODI cricket, and
hasn't played that much.
Probably the second most important player in that lineup after maybe Buttler. So there's issues. Bairstow, he broke his leg like less than a year ago. There's still probably some fitness concerns around him coming back. And then we're not even on to the bowling yet, which I think you said you'd prelude, and that is a weakness. It's a little bit. I mean, it's not. I think I said for Australia, it's a team packed full of quality, and you can pick holes in it to some extent. I think just the level of quality will mean that they will make the semi-finals. But as Max says, I think this is a team that looks better on paper than it has played so far on the pitch.
Fair. Well, let's talk about their bowling then, because I think the lineup has a nice mix to it. They've got kind of left-hand, right-hand combinations. They've got bowling for different phases. They've got a good bowling for different matchups as well. And they've got a good difference in pace as well. So I think they've got a good level of variation that can adapt to the different areas. Is it the strongest that you're going to see, though? We'd obviously love to see someone like Jofra Archer in there, who's gone as a travelling reserve to continue his rehabilitation. But they've got different options in that space, which I think is quite useful. I think from the spin department, I think we kind of talked about it, that kind of Adil, if we compare it to Pakistan, Adil Rashid is our frontline leg spinner, kind of similar to Shadab Khan, but Rashid Khan's a better spin bowler than he is, I think. And then I think in terms of Moeen Ali and Livingston, they've got something that they can work with there, and I think both are a really useful asset. The raw pace of kind of Mark Wood and Gus Atkinson is something to be feared, and then up front, I think Topley has proven over the last kind of couple of years that he's really, really useful in that space. But David Willey also providing that kind of probably first backup option is always very, very dangerous. And then Chris Wokes, I mean, is he going to be able to be as effective in India conditions? We know how great he is in England, but he is an absolute asset to England in the early format, in the early overs. So I think it's not the worst bowling lineup they're going in with, and I think there's cause to be excited by this England team. Max, where do you think we fall down, or no, Jack?
I'd say it's bang average. I mean, it's a pretty dull point to make, but I think pretty much the whole way through the innings, it's going to be bang average, and I think they're going to have to really rely on scoring more runs than average to win. Which I think
that's how they're set up, though, isn't it? That's how England
they probably will.
But the last 5 or 6 years. So
I'm not really wowed by any of it.
I would generally agree. I think the only place you might say they're better than average is the power play. I think with the new ball, they're decent.
Probably a fair comment.
That might be skewed a little bit by games they played in England, where it does. You do get a bit out of the deck in the first few, but it can swing in India, and we could see England benefit from that a little bit. But yeah, the rest of it, it's fine. It's serviceable. It's not going to knock a team over and give your batters an easy chase, but it's probably good enough to keep you in the game and let your batting do the heavy lifting, which is where England's strength is, at least on paper. So I think I think it's fine for what they have with the bat, but I don't think on its own it's particularly exciting. We're waiting for Mark Wood to come and blast through people. That's what we want to see. We haven't seen that much of Mark Wood in one-day cricket because, again, ODI series, they happen at the end of tests. Mark Wood's played in as many of the tests as we can get him to, and then we want to rest his ankle. So we've got an opportunity here to maybe see Mark Wood fire some rockets down in ODI cricket over a sustained period. And I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I hope it goes well. That could be something that could plug a hole that England have basically not had since Liam Plunkett retired in the middle overs. Whether he does that in the middle overs or it's more towards the death, we'll see. But that's a ray of light, I suppose. For England.
And this is what I think about this England lineup is that they don't try and leave the other team to get to the death overs, if that makes sense. They try and go for the jugular, right? They try and hit the power play really early. They try and take wickets in the middle overs, and then they try and be this. Well, you've only got 6, 7, 8 left here, or whatever. 9, 10, 11, left there. But we'll see. Prediction-wise, gents. We're going all the way. I'm going to be bullshit. You two have kind of gone. You two have been kind of the pessimists. I'm going to be the ever optimist. I'm not sure it'd be the Triple Crown. Would it be the Triple Crown, or would that be the Test World Championship as well? So this
I think that'd be the Test one. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna defend the ODI title is my prediction. I think you two are naysayers, boring. I think we're going to go with England being the best ever white ball team, and we're going to have cemented that dynasty on the international stage. Is my view. I think there's a lot of experience here. There's a lot of knowing how to win those crunch games, and they've got an awful lot of talent that is in that batting lineup, especially, which I think will be too much for some of the other teams to overcome. Max, we'll go to you first. Do you think I'm absolutely bonkers?
No, of course it's not. It's not a crazy prediction at all. Obviously, there's three sides really that are better than all the other ones in the World Cup. It's India who are the top, then probably England, and then Australia behind them. So I mean, they're the second best team in the competition. Of course, they've got every chance of winning it. But it's in India, so difficulties there. India are the best side. They'll have to overcome some, I guess, adversity at times, but they should make the semi-finals reasonably comfortably, you'd hope, and then it's 2 games. Like, anything can happen. So, of course, it's possible. Absolutely, it's possible. I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but it's by no means a stretch of the imagination. So, England fans should go in optimistic and looking forward to an exciting tournament with a hope that they can win it 100%.
So you're saying runners up? Fine.
Yep.
Here's my thing. I think this England team is built to win in one very, very specific way. And in those conditions, I think they're borderline unbeatable. They're fantastic. The problem is, I don't think that we'll see those conditions. Now, in 2019, this team was built to win in a very specific way, and we didn't see those conditions. But the talent and the planning and the introduction of Jofra Archer meant that the team was able to adapt and win the 2019 World Cup. I don't think the players for this World Cup have the flexibility to make that adaptation, which I think they will need to make. And they obviously don't have Jofra Archer. So I think semi-finals is probably where I have them finishing. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a slightly rocky group stage as well. I think they'll have the firepower to win enough games to make the semi-finals. But I also sort of wouldn't be stunned if they lost to Pakistan and Sri Lanka along the way or something like that. Like I think this is a team with some quite big flaws and some quite high volatility. And I think generally speaking, you want a team that has a higher floor than this team. I think this team can play badly.
So you're
low floor, high ceiling.
So the group stage that you talk about. So we start off with New Zealand, who we've just kind of battled with in the ODI space, and they obviously topped the Super League. We were second, so I think it's a tough opener, whichever way you look at it, regardless of if you think New Zealand have a chance to win the World Cup or not. We then play Bangladesh and Afghanistan, which are hopefully bankers, but by no means are. And then we've got a very tricky period in the middle. South Africa, Sri Lanka, India, Australia. That's a pretty tough gauntlet as games go in a row, right? And then we finish against Netherlands and Pakistan. And so I think, Jack, to your point there around, how variable will those conditions be as we get further into that middle phase? I think up front in the tournament, I'm hoping that the pitches will be a little bit more put together. We'll be able to kind of have that attacking style. Are we going to be able to adapt over that tournament? I think is a really, really valid point. Spirit animal?
Yeah, let's do spirit animal.
We've got 3 lions on the shirt, lads. It's obviously the lion. 2 of them are already wearing crowns. We need another crown. And we are strength, courage, dignity, and pride. And the last one is just ready and waiting to go. So that's where we're going to be.
Did he just say, so you picked the lion?
Yeah.
You picked the lion for Sri Lanka. You can't have the lion for... You've previewed 2 teams to this World Cup, and you've picked the lion as both of the spirit animals.
It's the only animal I know.
The only difference, Matt, you weren't on it. But for the Sri Lanka one, he tried to sneak lion through by using the Latin word for lion. He was like, I don't know what animal this is, but I can't remember the Leopanthera, I think it was. It was like, that's the lion. Like the lion. He's done it again. Like it's
that's poor.
I've been rattled. I've been absolutely rumbled here. I've been rumbled.
Yeah. That's suboptimal. I would say.
I think it adds to it.
Cool. Right. Quick message for our listeners and our viewers. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Do leave us a review. I've said it about 17 times on these previews. And if you're there thinking, I haven't bothered yet, get your phone out your pocket or head to your desktop. Go over to iTunes, Apple or Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, or both. Leave a 5-star review. Helps us out a lot.
The sooner you do it, the sooner Jack stops asking you to.
Yeah, exactly.
Max will read it out on the next show. If you do
that's actually true. What Max just said, like we've programmed this podcast so that you only hear that you need to review the show, and we only go on and on about it if you haven't actually clicked review. If you have reviewed it, then it just skips on, and you'd be listening to India.
It's very clever
right now.
Very clever.
Very clever.
Yeah. So cool. We're going to take a break, and we actually are going to come back with India to round off our World Cup team previews.
Looking forward to hearing about why India are lions.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.